We are going to be reading Numbers chapter 21 through chapter 25. God bless you this day for our daily reading. And King Arad, the Canaanite, who lived in the south, heard that Israel had come the way of Atharim, and he fought against Israel and took some of them captive. And Israel vowed a vow to Jehovah, and said, If you will indeed deliver this people into my hand, then I will utterly destroy their cities. And Jehovah listened to the voice of Israel, and delivered up the Canaanites, and they utterly destroyed them and their cities, and the name of the place was called Harmah. And they moved from Mount Hor by the way of the Red Sea to go around the land of Edom. And the soul of the people became impatient because of the way. And the people spoke against God and against Moses. Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no bread, and there is no water, and our soul hates the light bread. And Jehovah sent fiery serpents upon and among the people, and they bit the people, and many people of Israel died. And the people came into Moses and said, We have sinned, for we have spoken against Jehovah and against you. Pray to Jehovah, and he shall turn the serpent away from us. And Moses prayed on behalf of the people. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, Make yourself a fiery serpent, and set it on a pole. And it shall be that when anyone is bitten, when he sees it, he shall live. And Moses made a serpent of copper and put it on a pole. And it happened, if a serpent had bitten any man, when he looked to the copper serpent, he lived. And the sons of Israel journeyed and encamped in Oboth. And they moved from Oboth and camped in Jaabarim, in the wilderness that is before Moab, toward the rising of the sun. From there they pulled up and camped in the valley of Zered. From there they pulled up and camped beyond Ammon, which is in the wilderness that comes out of the border of the Amorites. For Ammon is the border of Moab, between Moab and the Amorite. On account of this, it is said in the book of the wars of Jehovah, Zahab in Suphah, and the torrents of Arnon are the slope of the torrent beds that goes down to the site of Ar, and leans on the border of Moab. And from there they went to Beer. That is the well of which Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Gather the people, and I will give water to them. Then Israel sang this song, Spring up, O well, sing to it, the well which the princes dug, which the nobles of the people dug with their staves. And the word of the lawgiver, and they departed from the desert to Mattanah. And from Mattanah they went to Nahalalel, and from Nahalalel to Bamoth, and from Bamoth in the valley which is in the field of Moab to the top of Pisgah, and looking toward the wilderness. And Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites, saying, Let me pass through your land. We will not turn into a field or into a vineyard. We will not drink waters of the well. We will go in the king's highway until we have passed over your border. And Sihon would not allow Israel to pass through his border. And Sihon gathered all his people and went out to meet Israel in the wilderness. And they came to Jahaz and fought against Israel. And Israel struck him by the mouth of the sword and seized his land. And Arnon to Jabbok, the sons of Ammon, for the border of the sons of Ammon was strong. And Israel took all these cities, and Israel dwelt in all the cities of the Amorite, in Heshbon, and in all its daughter villages. For Heshbon was the city of Sihon, king of the Amorites. And he had fought against the former king of Moab, and had taken his land out of his hand to Ammon. And on account of this, the parable speakers say, Come to Heshbon, let the city of Sihon be built and established. For a fire has gone out of Heshbon, a flame from the city of Sihon. It has consumed Ar of Moab, the lords of the high places of Arnon. Woe to you, Moab! You are undone. O people of Chemosh, He has given his sons as fugitives and his daughters into captivity to Sihon, king of the Amorites. We have cast them down. Heshbon has perished, even to Dibon, and we have ravaged even to Nophah, which is to Medeba. And Israel dwelt in the land of the Amorites, and Moses sent to spy out Jazer. And they took its villages and drove out the Amorite who was there. And they turned and went the way of Bashan. And Og, king of Bashan, came out to meet them, he and all his people, to battle at Edrei. And Jehovah said to Moses, do not fear him, for I have given him into your hand, and all his people and his land. And you shall do to him as you have done to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt at Heshbon. And they struck him and his sons and all his people until he did not have a remnant left, and they seized his land. Numbers chapter 22. And the sons of Israel pulled up stakes and camped on the plains of Moab beyond the Jordan by Jericho. And Balak, the son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab greatly feared because of the people, for it was many. And Moab was vexed by the presence of the sons of Israel. And Moab said to the elders of Midian, now this assembly is licking up all that is around us, as the ox licks up the grass of the field. And Balak, the son of Zippor, was king of Moab at that time. And he sent messengers to Balaam, the son of Beor, to Pathar, which is beside the river of the land of the sons of his people, to call for him, saying, behold, the people has come out of Egypt. Behold, it has covered the face of the earth, and it is sitting next to me. And now please come, curse this people for me, for it is stronger than I. Perhaps I will prevail, that we may strike them, that I may drive them out from the land. For I know that whoever you bless is blessed, and whoever you curse is cursed. And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian left with the rewards of the seer in their hand. And they came to Balaam and spoke the word of Balak to him. And he said to them, stay here tonight, and I will bring back word to you, even as Jehovah may speak to me. And the leaders of Moab stayed with Balaam. And God came to Balaam and said, who are these men with you? And Balaam said to God, Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent me, saying, behold, a people has come out of Egypt and covers the eye of the earth. Come now, curse them for me. Perhaps I will be able to overcome it and expel it. And God said to Balaam, you shall not go with them. You shall not curse the people, for it is blessed. And Balaam rose in the morning and said to the leaders of Balak, go to your land, for Jehovah has refused to allow me to go with you. And the leaders of Moab arose and came to Balak and said, Balaam refuses to come with us. And yet again Balak sent more leaders, even more honorable than they. And they came to Balaam and said to him, so says Balak the son of Zippor, please do not be kept back from coming to me, for I will honor you with very much honor. And all that you say to me I will do, and please come, curse this people for me. And Balaam replied and said to the servants of Balak, if Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I would not be able to go beyond the mouth of Jehovah my God to do anything, small or great. But now please remain here tonight, you also, and I shall know what more Jehovah may speak to me. And God came to Balaam at night and said to him, if the men have come to call you, rise up with them, and say only the thing that I speak to you. It you shall do. And Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his ass and went with the leaders of Moab. And the anger of God glowed because he went. And the angel of Jehovah stationed himself in the road as an enemy against him. And he was riding on his ass, and 2 of his servants with him. And the ass saw the angel of Jehovah standing in the road, and his sword was drawn up in his hand. And the ass turned out of the road and went into the field. And Balaam struck the ass to turn it back into the road. And the angel of Jehovah stood in a narrow path of the vineyard, a wall being on the side and a wall on that. And the ass saw the angel of Jehovah, and she pushed herself to the wall and crushed the foot of Balaam against the wall. And again he struck her, and the angel of Jehovah passed on and stood in a narrow place, where there was no way to turn, either to the right or to the left. And the ass saw the angel of Jehovah, and she lay down under Balaam. And Balaam's anger glowed, and he struck the ass with his staff, and Jehovah opened the mouth of the ass. And she said to Balaam, "What have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times?" And Balaam said to the ass, "Because you have insulted me. If only there were a sword in my hand, now I would kill you." And the ass said to Balaam, "Am I not your ass, on which you have ridden all your life long, to this day? Was I ever known to do so to you?" And he said, "No." And Jehovah opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of Jehovah standing in the road with his sword drawn in his hand. And he bowed and he fell on his face. And the angel of Jehovah said to him, "Why have you struck your ass these 3 times? Behold, I have come out as an enemy, because your way is contrary to me. And the ass saw me and turned aside before me these 3 times. If she had not turned aside, surely now I would have killed you and saved her alive." And Balaam said to the angel of Jehovah, "I have sinned, for I did not know that you stood against me in the way. Now if evil is in your eyes, I will turn back myself." And the angel of Jehovah said to Balaam, "Go with the men, but only the word that I speak to you, it you shall speak." And Balaam went with the leaders of Balak. And when Balak heard that Balaam had come and had gone out to meet him to a city of Moab, which is on the border of Arnon, which is in the outermost border, then Balak said to Balaam, Did I not send to you to call for you? Why did you not come to me? Am I not truly able to honor you?" And Balaam said to Balak, "Behold, I have come to you. Now am I able to speak anything at all? The word that God puts in my mouth, that I will speak." And Balaam went with Balak. And they came to the city of Huzoth. And Balak sacrificed oxen and the sheep, and sent to Balaam and to the leaders who were with him. And it happened in the morning, Balak took Balaam and caused him to go up to the high places of Baal. And from there he saw the farthest edge of the people. Numbers 23. And Balaam said to Balak, "Build 7 altars for me here, and prepare 7 bullocks and 7 rams for me here." And Balak did as Balaam had spoke. And Balak and Balaam offered a bullock and a ram on the altar. And Balaam said to Balak, "Station yourself by your burnt offering, and I will go on. It may be that Jehovah will come to meet me, and I will declare to you the things which he reveals to me." And he went to a high place, and God came to Balaam, and he said to him, "I have set up 7 altars, and I have offered a bullock and a ram on the altar." And Jehovah put a word in Balaam's mouth, and said, "Return to Balak, and you shall say this." And he returned to him, and lo, he was standing by his burnt offering, he and all his leaders of Moab. And he took up his parable, and said, "He has led me from Aram, Balak, king of Moab, from the mountains of the east, saying, Come, curse Jacob for me, and come, denounce Israel. How shall I curse him whom God has not cursed? And how shall I denounce him whom Jehovah has not denounced? For from the top of the rocks I see him, and I behold him from the heights. Behold, it is a people that shall dwell alone, and shall not be reckoned among the nations. Who can count the dust of Jacob, and the number of the 4th part of Israel? Let me die the death of the righteous, yea, let my last end be like his." And Balak said to Balaam, "What have you done to me? I took you to curse my enemies, and behold, blessing you have blessed. Blessing you have blessed." And he answered and said, "Must not I take heed to speak that which Jehovah has put in my mouth?" And Balak said to him, "Please come with me to another place, from where you shall see it. Only you shall see its edge, and you shall not see all of it, and curse it for me there." And he took him to the field of Zophim, to the top of Pisgah. And he built 7 altars, and offered a bull and a ram on the altar. And he said to Balak, "Stand here by the burnt offering." while I go to meet him over there. And Jehovah met Balaam, and put a word in his mouth, and said, Go back to Balak, and you shall say this. And he came to him, and behold, he stood by his burnt offering, and the leaders of Moab with him. And he said to him, What has Jehovah spoken? And he took up his parable, and said, Rise up, Balak, and hear. Give ear to me, son of Zippor. God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should repent. Has he said, and shall he not do it? And has he spoken, and shall he not make it good? Behold, I have received word to bless. Yes, he has blessed. I cannot reverse it. He has seen no iniquity in Jacob, nor has he seen mischief in Israel. Jehovah his God is with him, and the shout of a king is in him. God who brought them out of Egypt is for him, like the lofty horns of the wild ox. For there is not a spell against Jacob, nor any fortune telling against Israel. Now it is said of Jacob and Israel, See what God has done. Behold, the people shall rise like a lioness, and as a lion he shall lift himself up. He shall not lie down until he eats the prey and drinks the blood of the slain. And Balak said to Balaam, Do not curse it at all, nor bless it at all. And Balaam answered and said to Balak, Did I not speak to you, saying, All that Jehovah speaks, that I will do? And Balak said to Balaam, Come, please, I will take you to another place. It may be that it will be right in the eyes of God to curse it for me from there. And Balak took Balaam to the top of Peor, which looks toward the wilderness. And Balaam said to Balak, Build 7 altars for me here, and prepare 7 bullocks and 7 rams for me here. And Balak did as Balaam said, and he offered a bullock and a ram on the altar. Chapter 24 of Numbers. And Balaam saw that it pleased Jehovah to bless Israel, and he did not go, as at other times, to seek spells. And he set his face toward the wilderness. And Balaam lifted up his eyes and saw Israel camping by its tribes. And the Spirit of God was on him. And he took up his parable and said, The saying of Balaam, the son of Beor, and the saying of the man whose eyes have been opened, the saying of him who hears the words of God, who sees the vision of the Almighty fallen down, yet with open eyes. How good are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings. O Israel, they are spread out like valleys, like gardens by a river. And Jehovah has planted aloes as cedars beside the water. He makes water flow from his buckets, and his seed shall be in mighty waters, and his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom exalted. God, who has brought him out of Egypt, is for him like the lofty horns of the wild ox. He shall eat up the nations that are his foes, and shall break their bones in pieces, and shall pierce them through with his arrows. He has crouched, he has lain down like a lion, and like a lioness. Who shall rouse him up? Blessed is everyone that blesses you, and cursed is everyone that curses you. And Balak's anger glowed against Balaam, and he struck his palms together. And Balak said to Balaam, I called you to curse my enemies, and behold, you have altogether blessed them these 3 times. And now flee to your place. I thought to honor you with great honor, but behold, Jehovah has kept you back from honor. And Balaam said to Balak, Did I not speak to your messengers that you sent to me, saying, If Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the mouth of Jehovah, to do good or bad of my own heart? What Jehovah speaks, that I will speak. And now, behold, I go to my people. Come, and I will tell you what this people shall do to your people in the latter days. And he took up his parable and said, The saying of Balaam, the son of Beor, and the saying of the man whose eyes are opened, the saying of him who hears the words of God, and knows the knowledge of the Most High. who sees the vision of the Almighty falling down yet with open eyes. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not near. A star shall come forth out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall dash the corners of Moab, and break down all the sons of tumult. And Edom shall be a possession, and Seir shall be a possession for his foes, but Israel shall do mightily. And one out of Jacob shall rule, and will destroy the survivors from Ar. And he looked upon Amalek, and took his parable, and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end is to destruction. And he looked upon the Kenites, and took up his parable, and said, Your dwelling place may be enduring, and your nest may be set in a rock, but the Kenites shall be consumed, until Assyria shall carry you away. And he took up his parable, and said, Alas, who shall live when God puts out? And ships shall come from the coast of Chittim, and they shall humble Assyria, and they shall humble Eber, and he also shall come to destruction. And Balaam rose up and left, and returned to his place, and Balak also went on his way. Chapter 25 of Numbers. And Israel lived in Shittim, and the people began to fornicate with the daughters of Moab, and they called the people to the sacrifices of their gods. And the people ate and bowed themselves to their gods. And Israel was joined to Baal Peor, and the anger of Jehovah burned against Israel. And Jehovah said to Moses, Take all the leaders of the people, and hang them up to Jehovah before the sun, that the fierce anger of Jehovah may be turned away from Israel. And Moses said to the judges of Israel, Each one of you kill his men, those who joined to Baal Peor. And behold, a man of the sons of Israel came and brought in to his brothers a woman of Midian, before the eyes of Moses and before the eyes of all the congregation of the sons of Israel, who were weeping at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw, and he rose from amidst the congregation, and took a javelin in his hand, and went in after the man of Israel into the tent room, and he pierced both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman, through her belly. So the plague was stayed from the sons of Israel, and those that died by the plague were 24,000. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, has turned my wrath away from the sons of Israel, while he was zealous for my sake among them, so that I did not consume the sons of Israel in my jealousy. Therefore say, Behold, I give to him my covenant of peace, and it shall be to him and to his seed after him the covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because he was zealous for his God, and made atonement for the sons of Israel. And the name of the man of Israel who was smitten with the woman of Midian, was Zimri, the son of Salu, ruler of a father's house of the Simeonites. And the name of the woman who was smitten, the woman of Midian, was Cosbi, the daughter of Zur. He was head of the people of a father's house in Midian. And Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Vex the Midianites, and you shall strike them, for they are vexers to you, because of the wiles with which they have beguiled you in the matter of Peor, and in the matter of Cosbi, the daughter of a ruler of Midian, their sister, who was smitten in the day of the plague, because of the matter of Peor. If it be the Lord's will, we shall come together again tomorrow, and we will continue, and we will be in Numbers chapter 26 and forward. God bless you this day. I pray that the Lord abundantly blesses you in the knowledge and the wisdom and the truth, not only in his holy word, but of his Holy Spirit. And I pray that God would send ministering angels to go before and after his children in the name of Jesus, keeping you from even the appearance of evil. God bless you, brothers and sisters. Until tomorrow, I want to remind you the featured channel of God's Handmaiden is Lighting the Way Ministries, and that is the ministering channel in which every evening at 6 p.m. Central Time we meet for a solemn assembly of prayer, and we are in the book of Psalms. Also, Brother John, my husband, he brings a study in the Word every Wednesday and Sunday at 8 p.m. Central Time. God bless you. Until next time, we love you. Stay strong in the faith.